I want to start with Glo and Jamie today by asking each maybe to share. I want to offer just an insight, and I know the community feels this way too. You are both so friggin' positive, so optimistic. You come across as extraordinarily like happy when you're teaching, even when you're being vulnerable about what sucks and the challenge of things. I'd love to ask this simple question related to wellness, which is first, like what is it that you do that makes you happy mentally as you're striving and working hard? Because everyone's working hard, but somehow you're working hard with joy.
Yeah.
So how do you work hard with joy? How does that balance stay? I would love just to hear that from both of you.
Yeah, I'd love to start. And what's so cool about being a Growth Day coach is that just like you, I was learning from Brendon for the last 3 years. And one of the things that really stuck with me is how when you get disconnected from your future, that's when sometimes you start to think, oh my goodness, like, what am I doing this for? That day-to-day motivation is lost. So you have to figure out a way to stay connected to your future. And High Performance Habits, if you haven't read it by now, I talk about it almost every time I come on. It's one of my favorite books, and I read it annually to remind myself, like, people who are performing at a high level, they stay connected to gratitude, and how oftentimes happiness is circumstantial. It's like, I'm happy because I have a new pair of shoes, but joy, that's a choice. I have to find reasons and ways to stay joyful. And that's because I'm grateful and I find gratitude practices in my morning. And there's also a quote that goes, the world is going to offer you so many opportunities to be disappointed. Unfortunately, you have to decline most of those opportunities. Okay, so again, this world, I promise you, the heaviness, the weight, the anxiety, the stress, the frustration, I'm an empath. It weighs on me hard, but I have to find ways to say, oh my goodness, I'm breathing. Oh my goodness, every time God wakes me up, it means I have another chance. It means the world needs me more than he does. I'm still here to carry out my assignment and my mission. And so personally, that's what works for me.
Woo! Oh, good, y'all. Oh, love that. Jamie, how about yourself? You've especially been in a launch season, so it's really fascinating. Like, how do you stay happy even in the moments of super stress,
Yeah. Well, and with the topic too for this week's or this month's rather Growth Day, just about health. Like I would say in my whole journey, there are so many things I can talk about with such tremendous life lessons learned, right? Whether it's building a company or marketing or this or that. And probably my greatest efficiency, the thing I've been really focused on and relearning some of the same lessons is around health and wellness. And, in this launch season recently, I shared this with Brendon, that I thought I had mastered getting over burnout. I thought I had mastered prioritizing, the biggest things that matter, which of course are health and wellness. And I found myself in this recent season, probably the last 4 months, defaulting. I'm like back to some of those bad health habits. And I'm grateful to be aware of them really quick right now. But like I fell out of a morning routine and that kind of thing. And so, realizing it, also just seeing how it makes me feel is huge. And so I've been in this season of almost relearning some lessons that I thought I had learned, and trying to do them better this time around. But I do show up in joy. And to answer your question, I think really in parallel to some of what Glo just shared so brilliantly is, I really try to find the joy in everything. And so and this is not just work, but daily life, right? And I talk a lot about even, I'm not the kind of person that like wants to go to the gym. Like some people like love the gym and I'm like, But when I work out every morning, like I literally will tell myself, I flip my mindset around and I'm like, I don't want to, but like I get to, and I will literally focus intentionally and I'll be like right now, everyone listening to us live right now who is able to like move their legs a little bit or their arms, there's a lot of people that aren't able. And so I will position everything I do from a place of gratitude, right? So I go for at least an hour morning walk every day. And when I'm doing it, I'm like, wow, I get to. I don't want to, I get to. And I have people, I think a lot of us have people in our families who can't. They physically don't have the mobility to be able to do that. And so flipping it in my mind and just from a place of gratitude, and even simple things we never want to deal with in our business, right? Like this last week, I had to do a mediation between employees. It is the last thing in the world I want to do. Like literally the last thing. And like, I'm like, Glow, I'm an empath too. And I take on people's feelings and it's just so hard. But I remember being intentional in that moment of, wow, I get to have employees. Like a long number of years in growing my business at cosmetics, I couldn't afford to hire anybody for 3 years, right? So like, I get to have employees. I get to do this mediation. It's really just a focus on gratitude, and then also, when I'm really tempted to not feel joy in what I'm doing, or maybe I'm dreading something that day, I also just focus on like, God, use me, and I get myself out of myself. And I try to realize, how can I do something today that's bigger than myself? And that kind of brings me right back to the joy of whatever it is, and then the gratitude for the opportunity.
I think something I know about both of you, and I share, and I know a lot of our GrowthDay community does too, is just that there's a sense of spiritual grounding in our lives, and that helps tap into something higher. That helps have a trust or a faith. That sometimes helps us, hope that there's this plan or purpose, or see that there maybe is, and also to tap into that strength of faith sometimes to serve is huge. And that spiritual side, I'll share one too with y'all, which is the social side. I think Jamie and I were really good at this earlier this year, or from my perspective, I thought we were. I have no idea, but my perspective is like, there's a spiritual side of wellness, and there's also a social side of wellness, where if the people around you are on a journey with you, it's easier to stay well. If you're in isolation, if you don't have social support, if you don't reach out to people, but more importantly for me, I would say hands down, it's just everyone knowing, like over communicating where you are and what you're doing in life. So it's like none of my friends guilt me that I'm busy. Like I never get that, because I'm always like, oh my gosh, guys, the next 3 weeks is crazy. You're not going to hear from me. It's going to be nuts. Jamie's like, okay, for the next 3 months, I'm doing this book launch. It's going to be nuts. And sharing that with people, like letting them, when you're in a season of total insanity, if you try to keep everything together and not communicate that, I'm always telling people that. I share with Denise, I'm like, okay, this is my Super Bowl week. This I've trained all, I'm going to be working till midnight every night. It's going to be completely insanity. I'm going to leave things all around the house. I'm going to forget what I'm supposed to do. Like, it's just going to be, that's just so communicated. Like I tell my mom, I'm sorry, Mom, I'm not going to get to talk as much. Or this is like, everybody just knows around me, oh, Brendon's doing that thing. And that if you could build good relationships along the way, you have their trust, their faith, and their patience in that, where they don't guilt you, they don't make you feel bad. And all of that is built in process and in preview, I always call it. So in preview means preview for everybody in your life. Here's what's coming up this week. Here's what's coming up this month. The kids should know if mom's got a big project. The spouse should know if you're going to be a little unavailable, or you're going to be a little more stressed out. Like for me, I call stress often performance edge. I'm like, when I'm high performing, you're around me, there's edge. And some people are like, oh, I don't like that. So I always let them know. I'm like, oh, I want to let you know, I get really intense and focused and my face looks less joyous, but I'm not very smart. So I have to really concentrate. So it's nothing against you. And so people laugh and they go, okay. I said, I'm going to be like this. So that preview for your social relationships, now they're not guilting you as you're going along. Now they're more patient. They give you a little bit more compassion or empathy or slack in the journey. And that really was an unlock for me. Plus the spirituality, what we're talking about, being centered and taking faith. But that unlock socially has been huge for me. And I'm just wondering if Glo or Jamie, you do that, and is there a way that you do that well? Because you're both creatives and you both launch stuff a lot. So it's like, how do you mobilize the people around you so your wellness journey is possible?
I love this story and this framework because I would call it a capacity check. So when I have limited capacity to be a good friend, I always like when friends, before they emotionally dump on me, because everyone has really good friends in your life where you tell them everything, dating stories, whatever, you're just, you're really engaged with them. But oftentimes I'd be in the middle of a launch and my friends would just emotionally dump on me. And I had to start having those hard conversations and saying, hey, before you send these really heavy conversations, as an empath, I will like melt with you, before you send these conversations, if you don't mind asking for a capacity check to see if I have the emotional capacity to take on your drama, because our friends have a lot of drama. And that's been let me just tell you, it is so kind. It is so mindful. I love now the way my friends and I are just in sync. Like, hey, Glo, capacity check. I have something I'm going through, but check in on you first. And before I as well, dump on someone, I ask how they're doing, what's going on in their life, because you want to be good friends and you want to show up for the people that you care about. But do understand that you are not the center of the world, maybe the center of your world, but everyone has their issues, their struggles, their traumas, their triggers. Everyone is constantly going through something. And we have to be mindful of communication so that we're not losing friends over something that could have been de-escalated through a capacity check.
Woo! So good. Gotta write that down, capacity check. Jamie, how about yourself?
Yeah, I love that so much. And just to add to that really quick, I'm about to share that concept with my husband, capacity check, because right. I'm an introvert and he's an extrovert. And there are days where I literally have nothing more, like I can't listen longer. Like I can't take it. And I'm going to do I love that so much. I'm going to implement that, Glo. Thank you. Yeah, I do a lot of that too. This season has been tough. And what I've learned kind of the hard way, and I really started learning this building It Cosmetics when I was really just all in. And I realized that if we don't do a good job of proactively communicating where we're at, it really does hurt other people's feelings. And it really can impact friendships and relationships. And because, we think that everyone else, it's easy to think everyone else understands how big what we're doing is, or how important what we're doing is, or how much we care about this is, but really they're not in our shoes, right? And so I learned this the hard way, growing it with some friends that were really didn't understand or took it personal when I was so focused on the launch. And so I do a way better job now of communicating that, and kind of exactly what you said, Brendon, about sharing. This is my Super Bowl week with Denise. I do that now with Paulo a lot, and also just with my friends and family. And when I wrote my book, Believe It, and a lot of people, for the first time, I shared the behind the scenes of what I was going through for a decade building the company. A lot of my family said they had no idea a lot of that stuff. And it kind of made me realize, oh, wow, doing that kind of proactively is super important, but also just for everyone else to understand. And, one other thing I want to share that's a little bit tied to this, but really a whole nother concept, I think, when it comes to relationships and wellness, is I've had a big epiphany around this recently. And it's around doing inventory and really audits of the relationships in your life, friendships, employee relationships that are aligned with your own authentic truth and soul, or that aren't. And this has been big for health and wellness for me. So I just want to share it real quick. And I was, I had the joy of interviewing someone named Martha Beck, who's written a ton of books. And I was interviewing her live on Instagram about a week ago, or Facebook, about a week ago. And she said something so powerfully that I just want to share that was really eye-opening for me. And it summed up a big thing I've been working on for 2 years in terms of the relationships around me and how that impacts my health and wellness. And she was explaining that, when they give someone a lie detector test, right? And when someone's lying, their body physically changes. their heart rate, everything else, right? Your body state physically changes when you're lying. And she was explaining that when we keep inauthentic friendships, or we're in a job we don't fully love, or we're doing something because someone else wants us to, but it's not aligned with our truth, or we keep an employee around who's toxic, even though we think like we really need them. She was saying all of those are forms of lies. And our body is in a constant state physically of not being at peace. And I just found that so eye-opening because, you know, one of my biggest weaknesses as a leader over the years in building, we built over 1,000 employees, I would, you know, I would keep employees longer than I should have once I realized, oh, they're toxic, or, you know, because I wanted to turn them around. I wanted to be that leader that turned them around, and I didn't want to abandon them and all those things. Even though other CEOs would always tell me when someone's toxic, get rid of them right away because it'll spread like a cancer, right? I always had this like, I don't want to abandon people thing, but it always cost me my peace, always, right? That internal peace. And so, you know, over the past 2 years, when it comes to health and wellness, I've actually been doing something just to share with everyone in case someone else needs to do this in their life, where I've been really inventorying my relationships, my friendships, you know, and making sure that the ones I keep close to me, the family members maybe that I need to put boundaries up with, and I wasn't before, I've been inventorying those because some of them aren't in congruency or alignment with like the integrity of me, the integrity of my soul, and who I know I am and who I want to be around. And as I've been doing that and loving some people from a distance, but also just really making sure that I don't have any toxic friends in my life, and that if an employee is toxic to the culture, that's not going to be the right fit anymore. And I've been really trying to curate that, and I feel so much lighter than I ever have, and so much more peaceful. Like it's literally been life-changing for me. And when I had Martha Beck on, and she put it in those terms, in terms of the impact on your physical health, when you maybe you stay in a relationship with a partner or a spouse, and you're like, this isn't, you know, and you know it's not in congruency with your truth, and we try to talk ourselves out of it and stay in it. But also a lot of us have friends that we love, but when we're around them, we kind of just feel like, I'm not sure if they're really for me, or I'm not sure if, you know, I don't like that they gossip about other people, or something just doesn't feel aligned with our truth. It can actually affect our physical health and our well-being and our stress. So that's been a huge aha for me that I've been implementing for 2 years, but then really understood it from that example that Martha gave with the lie detector test recently. So for me, that's been a big thing I've been focusing on in terms of next level health for me, and I actually feel the impact on my physical health as well. I'm so excited to be here, and especially with this topic this month, advanced mindset and resilience. When I think about, you know, my days of going from working as a waitress at Denny's, and my whole journey of having ideas or hopes or dreams, to launching one of those dreams in my living room, to getting tons of no's and going through so much setback. When I think about like, what are those defining things that help me level up in mindset and also stay resilient and keep going after what I knew was part of my calling? And really, it comes down to one of the big things that it comes down to is me being able to change my relationship in my own mindset with rejection. Rejection is victory. I want you to write that down, and I want you to think about this idea. Okay, here we go. How many people, right, stay in their comfort zone because they're afraid of rejection, they're afraid of failure, they're afraid of people seeing them start small? How many people stay in their comfort zone forever? How many people talk themselves out of their own truth forever and never actually become the person they're born to be, right? If you are someone, and I'm going to say one of the courageous people, one of the brave people who is stepping into your calling, who is stepping into your purpose or multiple purposes in this life, if you're one of the brave people doing that, you're going to get rejection after rejection after rejection. It just comes, right? Think about every person in history that's done anything great. Think about everyone living right now. That's a great example of accomplishment or impact or inspiration, right? And you just look at their lives, even the greatest, constant rejections on their journey. So what I learned to do early on that I really want to challenge you to do today is to literally see rejection as victory. And what I mean by that is, if you are one of the courageous people who is brave enough to literally be on the path to your calling and to be stepping into the person you're born to be in this lifetime, every time you get a rejection, it's a reminder that you're one of those brave people who's literally doing it. Like, you're one of those brave people stepping into your calling. And you guys, I had to flip the switch in my head, because when I started IT Cosmetics, and I can give a million other examples in my personal life, in my years before launching the company, in my journey of launching Believe It, my book, there's so many examples of this. But the big one that stands out to me is when I launched this dream in my living room, and I was not ready for it to be like, for it to get no traction. I didn't realize, I thought if my product's really good and I have a great vision, a great why behind it, I believe in it, I just thought, of course, it's going to sell. It's going to turn into a successful company. I was not ready or prepared in any way for the hundreds and hundreds of no's that I would get the first several years. For experts that I used to put on a pedestal to say they didn't believe in it. And I wasn't ready for that. And when I started getting no after no, obviously we've all had forms of rejection in our life. It hurts, it's painful. It's easy to think, well, maybe my gut is wrong. Maybe I don't have what it takes, all those things, right? And I eventually had this big aha moment where I knew, because even though I was getting hundreds of no's, even though this went on for years, you guys, before we ever had any signs of success for our company, every time I would check in with my gut, it kept saying, you're supposed to be doing this, right? You're supposed to be doing this. I felt it. And so because of that, what I decided to do, and I had this big aha moment around it, was I flipped my mindset around rejection. And I just made the decision that, you know what? Because I know I'm supposed to be putting this idea out into the world, this passion out into the world, this mission out into the world that I believed in so much when I was creating my company, I believed in that. So because of that, I just decided I'm a person who's actually doing that, even when it's hard, even when it's not rewarded, even when no one's buying and we got no orders again today, right? All those times I just flipped the switch. Okay, every time I got another no, every time someone said you're not the right fit, or we don't think you're going to do well in our stores, or every day we got no orders, rejection comes in so many forms, right? I literally just decided, okay, this rejection is a victory, right? It's another victory, because I'm one of the brave few who's literally going after my calling, who's putting my ideas out into the world, who's showing up to serve with my whole heart the best way I know how. And when I flipped this idea that rejection is a victory, it literally helped me fear it less, right? And helped me become a little more fearless and really showing up for the reasons why I was there to show up for, which was to serve other people and to put a product out in the world I really believed in. So imagine if you can flip, right? Because I know we're talking advanced mindset and resilience, and this is so simple, yet how many people do this, right? If you can flip in your head every time you get a no, every time you get a setback. Let's say you go post something today and no one likes it. like there's the simplest things that make us feel rejected, and sometimes we let those turn into self-doubt in our own head. I'm challenging you today to flip the switch. Rejection is a victory. Oh, someone just said no to you again. Oh, a client just left. Oh, whatever happened, right? Just literally flip it in your head as a reminder that you are one of the brave few who is courageous enough to be going after your calling in life. So rejection is a victory, because all it is a reminder that you're one of those people. It's a victory that you're one of those people, right? That you're going to be on this path to becoming the person you're born to be. And if that's you, rejection is just going to come with the territory. Anybody who puts out ideas or works or their heart, right? Anyone who does that, who's brave enough to do that, it comes with rejection. So rejection is victory.
So today's message is going to be about advanced mindset and resiliency. I traveled for 7 years. That was my career in my 20s. I was a travel blogger. And I remember when I was in Montenegro. Montenegro's in Europe. It's in the Balkans. It's a beautiful country, probably top 5 for me. And I was walking and I was just exploring. And I remember I was getting those peculiar stares. I was used to the stares. You know, I'm a solo Black woman. I get it. I'm in a country that doesn't have many Black people. There were those stares, but this stare was different. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to keep on going with it. Little did I know that, well, Europe, number one, is a very big tennis continent. You have Djokovic, Nadal, Federer, all came from Europe, and they're massive global tennis stars. And little did I know, I resembled Serena Williams. And so the stares weren't about like, oh, it's just another Black woman. It was like, oh, we have this American tennis star in our country. All of these people thought I was Serena Williams, and they were trying to get my autograph. And I didn't know this about celebrities, but when they travel, a lot of times they don't want to be bothered, so they use an alias name. And I was like, no, I'm Glow, I'm not Serena. No, Glow, please, Serena Williams. And they were begging me and telling me that, no, we know that you're Serena. Please just, take a picture with us. And it was so funny, but I was like, I was literally trying to outrun the paparazzi. And I got back to my hostel, and I go out to dinner later on, and there's this one Russian man who was still able to track my whereabouts. And, as I say this out loud, it sounds a little bit creepy, but it was genuine. He had kids that loved Serena Williams. And so he said, Savina, please, for my kids. Savina, please, for my kids. And so what did I do? Got my pen, signed Serena with a smiley face, and let him on his way. That is resilience. Not the kind that we're going to talk about, but it's resilience nonetheless. And I want to talk to you guys about how when there's something that you want, no matter the circumstances, you will find a way to get it. That's entrepreneurship. That's life. But advanced mindset, I want to break down an acronym here, because advanced mindset, it comes down to your mind. So I want you guys to write out MIND, and we're going to break down a mind framework that's going to help you have a more advanced mindset. The first one, M, mission, a mission that can change the world. A lot of us are still operating from a very selfish place. And I speak from experience. When I was travel blogging, all I wanted to do was travel the world and get paid. So some of you guys have to understand, like, what is it about your skill set, your career, or your industry that you can attach to a greater cause? Maybe because of personal experience or overcome trauma. Think about it. If you're a nutritionist that overcame a disease, how can you now teach on holistic wellness? Okay. If you're a business coach, maybe, who overcame poverty, how can you now attach socioeconomic issues as a part of your branding, as a part of your messaging? Take your own personal story and attach it to a larger mission, because that's what's going to make you stand out as a leader, make you stand out as an entrepreneur, and just make you stand out in your industry in general. Intuition to speak up when it matters. Leadership is easy when things are going well. It's easy to be a leader when you don't have to actually lead on hard stuff, okay? And I was like, ooh. And I found myself like really having to feel convicted about what leadership means, and that intuition to speak up when it matters most. Because sometimes controversy is necessary in a teaching moment. Figuring out how to take something that could be controversial and turning it into a teaching moment. Every single thing that I post, you'll never find, my page is not about drama. My teaching style, my education style, nothing is about drama or gossip or hatred. That's not where I come from. It's lessons, it's learning, it's teaching. Because that's intuition as a leader. Like, okay, this needs to be spoken about. how can I speak about it in a way that no one else has covered, with grace, compassion, with light? Okay. Intuition is having the ability to recognize a moment that can set your core values apart from everyone else. It is easy to do what everyone else is doing. It is easy to speak like everyone else is speaking. The hard thing is to pause and to reflect. And when you're about to speak out on something, how can you do that inner work of saying, okay, can I see myself in this situation? Have I done something like this before? Okay. The next one, N, nuanced navigation. And it's funny because I was like, what is nuance? We use it a lot of times, but we use words sometimes and we're like, wait, what's the actual textbook definition of nuance? Nuance is a subtle difference, a subtle change of expression, okay? And a lot of times you're gonna navigate through life, not always needing to go with the flow of the world. And whether your business mission is to change the face of education, maybe your business mission is to change the face of marketing, again, because your advanced mindset is going to be more forward thinking. There's going to be a larger cause that you've got to attach your branding to. But you have to have nuance in your teaching, in your decision making, in your integrity, in your values. You have to be able to recognize what's for you and what's not. Okay, don't chase things. Attract them by the way you show up. Don't chase after things. Attract them by the way you're showing up in the world, okay? I think a lot of times, especially as a beginning entrepreneur in my 20s, I was still so hungry to fit in, hungry for purpose, hungry for finances because I was broke, trying to figure out like, where do I go? And your navigation, your GPS system has to have nuance. If you are going the direction of everyone else, you might not be doing it right. You might not be doing it right because leadership is going to take you to pause. It's going to force you to slow down. It's going to force you to detour sometimes. It's going to force you to put something in reverse, put the whole vehicle in reverse and say, okay, I went down this path because I saw everyone else doing it, but maybe this isn't actually where I'm supposed to be going. Okay, nuanced navigation. There should always be a subtle difference in the way you're speaking up, in the way you're showing up, in the way you're leading, in the way you're educating, in the way you're providing, in the way you're serving. There should always be nuance, okay? And then D, diligent. You want to be careful, conscious, and committed to your work. It is so easy to let the glitz and glam of success and life just overwhelm you and make you feel like everything you've done was on your own goodwill, okay? You have to be careful, conscious, and committed, not just to your work, but to the mission and staying connected to the community that you're trying to help. And you do this by dedicating yourself to a cause that is greater than yourself. And I remember I was, I think 27, I was in Jamaica the first time my blog hit 6 figures. And that was, up until that point, that was my only goal. I wanted to get paid to travel. I wanted to have a 6-figure blog. Once I get there, I'm rich. Woo! I think my first year as a full-time travel blogger, I made $7,000 the entire year. So the idea of a 6-figure blog was so out of reach that I was like, if I can get there, maybe one day if I get lucky, I was like, oh, I'll just kind of stop, like, because that's all I need. And what happened when I reached 100K? Spiraled, went into a 3-week episode of depression. Because when you put so much value on money and not your core values, not your integrity, not a mission, you lose yourself. I was so, that moment of a 6-figure blog, I put so much weight in that. I didn't know what I needed to feel, but when I got there, I didn't feel anything. I was expecting like maybe my shower was gonna feel different. Maybe glitter would like pop under my balloons or pop under my pillows. Balloons would come from the sky. Like, where is my party? Like, I've had this goal. Where's the celebration? Didn't feel anything. In fact, I regressed. I stopped reading. I stopped praying. I stopped reading my devotional. I lost sight of myself. And so it's so important. Have financial goals, but my goodness, have a mission first. Have a mission first.
Today, I want to start with what we promise in Growth Day and what we talk about in Growth Day, because we have three big themes that we're always working towards in Growth Day. It's this framework that, you know, I teach that I believe is really the drives that we're all after. This is something that we are going to work on together all year. Everybody wants these three things. We all want aliveness, connection, and meaningful pursuits. And these are things that I promise, after you make your next $10,000 or $100,000, or you have your next child, or you move to that dream place, or you get that perfect job, or you start that new business, no matter how busy you get or how successful you get, these three things never go away. Our sense of aliveness is our sense of being. Our sense of aliveness is that thing that we all want: enthusiasm, zest, pop, joy, emotional vitality, right? Vibrancy, full presence. That sense of aliveness each day, where we feel the day, where we bring the joy. These are themes. So here's what I have to ask you. What could you do this month to feel more alive? What could it be this month? Maybe it's you get your family together on Zoom once a week, just to feel like a sense of joy if you like your family. If you don't, maybe you go take an adventure. Maybe you do more of your art. Maybe you do that creative endeavor again. You go out in the garage and you build the thing. Maybe you try something new, you challenge yourself. But also, please know, what's the other side of aliveness? Well, deadness. So is there anything that's in your life that you're just like, that shouldn't be in my life? It drains your life. An obligation, a task that you can outsource or help get some assistance with. Is there something that is just draining your energy, your good energy? If it's a person, a place, a thing, what is it? Let's think about it. Okay, the last 30 days, the last 60 days, here in 2021, is there anything that has stolen your sense of aliveness? What is it? And how can you change that thing, alter that thing, outsource that thing, quit that thing? I mean, you want to feel more alive. You got to get rid of things that don't make you feel that way, but not you have to do it in a responsible manner. We got to find what makes us feel alive. Maybe comedy makes you feel alive. Maybe you need to dance more. Maybe it's time you put on some music around the house. Whatever you got to do to feel more alive, that's got to be a focus of this month. Our theme is focus. What should be our focus? How alive we feel. How present we feel, how vibrant and healthy we feel. These are things that you should plan for. These are things that you should plan for. The second thing you see there is connection. We all want connection with ourselves, the world, other people. Specifically, after we've had everything, we want a deeper connection with self and others, right? What is that relationship that you need to improve with yourself or others or your God or your creator? What is that relationship that you could go deeper on? As an example, some of you, you know you should set your relationship goals on the first of the month, right? So what are your relationship goals for this month? What's your relationship goal for your spouse, or your relationship goal with your son or your daughter? What's your relationship goal with your key team members? So what are some goals you could set to deepen connections with your customers, your clients, your friends, your family, your loved ones, your spouse, the kids? Like, really think about that. Last up, but certainly not least, is these meaningful pursuits. We all want a sense of meaning, satisfaction, and engagement in pursuing something, in progressing towards something, in achieving or contributing or creating something. These are your creation goals or your contribution goals, right? Your meaningful pursuits. It's your artistic endeavor, it's your hobby, it's your passion, it's your purpose, it's your mission, whatever it is. It's something you draw meaning from just by being in the hunt, just by engaging or doing the thing. So what are you going to do this month that you're going to find meaningful, satisfying, fulfilling? And again, what are the things you got to get rid of? They're just not tasks that you find meaningful, fulfilling, satisfying, engaging. So let's talk about focus now. So if we set our goals each month around aliveness, around connection, around meaningful pursuits, and we think about how we want to grow into those things, let's figure this out. Your focus at any given time is based on what I call 3 states of mind. And these 3 states of mind are where your mind is going at any given time. Consciously or unconsciously, very few people are aware of it. But once you become aware of it, you realize how you can regain your focus. For the most part of our unconscious life, especially as we're young and striving to build something and we're not familiar with personal development and we're just kind of going through the motions, our mind, our mental chatter, a lot of our unconscious thoughts are built on protecting ourselves. Our thoughts are protectionist, right? You all call this survival mode. Your mind has that, part of our evolutionary history that is very focused on protecting ourselves. And we protect ourselves not just physically, but we protect ourselves emotionally and mentally. And so what does this have to do with focus? A lot of people's focus, without them even being aware of their consciousness yet, a lot of their focus is always on worry, on protecting ego, on, fear-based thinking. All of these thoughts, this mental chatter, is to protect oneself or one's things or one's relationships or one's standing and identity in the world. I need to protect my status, my ego, and my standing in this community, right? I'm embarrassed to be seen starting small because I need to protect the sense that I have strength and respect. We're protecting ourselves a lot. Why do I bring this up? Well, we're in March. You had January, you had your big vision, New Year's goal session. We crushed it, January and February. You got these dreams out there. If you are not moving towards them swiftly with focus and discipline, it's because in your mind, it's saying, be careful. Don't go too fast. What if they don't like you? What if it doesn't work out? And in the way that you're protecting mindset, it always almost is this internal state of thought that says, what if, followed by a negative statement? What if it doesn't go well? What if I don't know what I'm doing? What if they judge me? What if there's ruin? What if there's regret? What if there's disaster? What if it was better over there and I wasted my time? What if I choose the wrong thing? That's the protecting mind. And sometimes when we don't have the focus we want during the day, it's because we're scared all the time. You know why a lot of people lack discipline? Not because they don't have things they want. It's because it's easier not to do something when you're scared. It's because it's easier not to do something when all your thoughts are saying, what if this doesn't turn out? Well, let me just disengage. It's not that you as a human lack the character trait of discipline and hard work or commitment. It's that your thoughts are betraying you. Your thoughts are on this merry-go-round of doubt. You follow? And that doubt sounds like protective thinking, protecting the ego, the sense of security, protecting who we feel like we should be or are, protecting our current bank account, protecting our current, progress. And I'm not here to say protecting thoughts are bad. I'm here to contextualize our conversation today about focus and discipline and drive. So if you feel like you lack focus, you probably have a lot of fear. If you feel like you lack discipline, you have a lot of doubts. If you feel like you lack drive, you have a lot of discouragement because every time you try something, the brain goes, well, I look stupid, I better quit. This ain't working. What if it gets worse? What if it never turns out? What if, followed by a negative statement, is how our mind can trick us from being focused, disciplined, and driven. Now listen, thank God our mind has that mental chatter of protecting. It's the thing that keeps you out of going down strange places where your intuition is saying, hey, don't go there. It's what helps you protect yourself in times of crises. It activates the part of you that reacts swiftly and carefully to protect your physical being, right? It's survival mode. Sometimes survival mode is needed when you're in real threat. But I can also share with you, I thought my plane was going to crash. And I didn't allow my brain to go into threat. I heard it go there, and I said, let me choose a different thought pattern right now. Let me turn my focus to something useful. And you all, I hope this doesn't sound metaphorical, because this is real. If that plane is going to go down when I'm in it, I don't want my last minute or two to be focused on the terror of it. I grab my thoughts back and I start praying and giving appreciation for this incredibly blessed life. I start asking for my family and my friends to know I lived a happy life, for them to continue living a happy and a great life, even if I'm not here. I want to be intentional with that last minute or 2 or 3 minutes. Even though my amygdala is going, holy crap, this plane, the smell, that's still there. But what I'm trying to encourage you is, with enough time in personal development, you can override the protectionist things that take away from the experiences that you want in life. We can teach our brain. We can override those things with enough time. I'm not here to say it's easy. I'm here to say it's required for a good life. That's the difference. I don't care if it's easy. I just go crazy when people say, well, Brendon, that sounds hard, or it's easy for you. I'm like, oh, ease is not the goal. Progress is. Ease is not the goal. Consciousness is. I'm not worried about making it easy on you. I'm here to say these are the requirements of a good life. What else? Where else is our brain often? Well, often in our day-to-day, we're actually more in what I call a processing mind, right? A processing mind. What does that mean? Well, a processing mind means it's your thinking mind, right? It's your thinking mind. So what is that? Well, it's you just ruminating on things, thinking through things. Why did she do that? Why do I feel this way? What's next? What do I need? What am I learning here? Why did that thing happen? It's the questioning, inquisitive, curious mind that's just chugging along. It's just going. And that inquisitive mind is wondering how things are going to turn out, or it's wondering what's next, or it's wondering, but here's something to know. Here's something to know. This is also where analysis paralysis happens. We got any overthinkers out here? Anyone? It's thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking, studying and studying and studying, but not always taking action. Just like you're stuck in processing all the time. Or some of you, something happened last week and you're still thinking about it. It's gone. It should be let go. It should be forgiven. It shouldn't be on your mental dashboard today. You got missions to serve, people to serve, things to do today, but you're still thinking about something that happened. I was in an emergency plane ride on Tuesday. I'm not feeling it or thinking about it today other than to share a lesson with you. It's not like I woke up today thinking about it. No, instead I said, well, that's not going to be useful. Me processing that a million times and running it over and over in my mind, what is that going to achieve? Okay, it happened. Cool. What's the lesson? Great. Move on. And this is so important. Some of you are still feeling the same anger and emotion about something that happened a decade ago. And it's stealing from your aliveness. It's stealing from your connection with other people. It's stealing from your sense of meaning and joy. And you got to get a hold of that. If you got divorced 10 years ago and you're still processing it, get a therapist And I mean that with not judgment, with joy, to recommend professionals to you. If you're still processing something that happened when you were in high school, when she broke up with you or that person, and that negative thinking or that negative emotional reality is still here with you decades later, raise your hand and be proud about asking for help and getting a professional person to help you work through that. I'm not here to say that we should all be able to get over things quickly. If you've ever studied my work, you recognize I don't lack empathy or intelligence around how the brain works. I get it, right? I've spent my life in human behavior change. I understand it takes time. I understand it needs support. I understand sometimes you don't even know what's going on. And that's why you might need a coach or a therapist, or to at least even voice it for the very first time to your friends, your family, your community. But if you're still processing over and over, replaying things from the past over and over and over again in a way that's limiting your sense of aliveness, connection, or meaningful pursuits, it's time to deal with that thing, right? Sometimes the most powerful thing in processing is to close it down. What do I mean by that? Okay, that situation, I didn't like it, period. Didn't like it, learn from it, period. And not drag all those emotions into today, not drag all that feeling into today, right? And I'm not here to offer therapeutic advice to you. I'm a coach. But what I'm here to suggest to you is that be aware of where are you stuck on something? Where are you just in forever processing, thinking, ruminating? Because that can also spin your mind into equal deficit as much as protecting. And all of a sudden it's just like, ugh. And what I want to encourage you to do, even in those experiences, at some point, we got to shift the mind into progressing. Progressing. Okay, what's the next right action of integrity for me? What's the next thing I can do to move the ball forward? What's the next thing I can say to myself to release the past and get on with it, right? Sometimes we have to interrupt the thoughts and say, okay, what's next? Let me get this old clunky brain here into motion again. And that's what's going to give you the aliveness and the connection and the progress towards those meaningful pursuits. It's like you got to take hold of mine and go, okay, what's the next right action of integrity? Like, let me switch my gears. That's why I have to fill out my high performance planner every morning, because my mind, I'm a nutty professor. I will be in processing and thinking and analytical all day. I will. I have to go, Brendon, okay, action, progress, move it forward. Otherwise, you know what? Without progress, the mind goes a little batty. It gets restless. It gets frustrated. Now you get discouraged and sad and upset. But we need a little bit of that progress to sense that momentum, and that momentum gives us more confidence. That confidence gives us more competence. Those senses give us a little more mastery and engagement of the day. But guess what? Some of you, you're in progress mode all the time. And your family's like, can you take a minute to just eat your food? Can you just chill out for 5 minutes to be with your child? Can you just relax one night? Can you just not work till X amount? Or could you please stop putting in the 100-hour work week? Like, you know, sometimes when you're in just action, progress mode, we're in trouble. So all of these things, I hope you hear me saying examples of good and bad, right? Protecting can be good, processing can be good, progress can be good, but they can also equally have their negative flip side, right? If you progress, if you're always progress, go, and you don't take care of yourself, we're in trouble. So I'm hoping to draw this out to say your focus is in one of these three buckets. Sometimes it's all simultaneous. Sometimes it's one focus. Some of you live a life in one of these buckets. Does that make sense? Maybe it's like you might go, some of you I can identify a year or 2 or 10 years where you were just in one of these things and you never made that shift. This can be your day for personal growth. This can be that day you committed to and you remember and you go, that was the day I got myself a community. I got better coaches. I committed to making my life the absolute best that I could. This is that day. Make today your growth day. Click the button on this page and sign up right now.